Alright, good evening everybody. My name is Jan Dvorak, aka Storyteller, and this is my third live stream, actually fourth technically. And we'll be talking about scaling, Meteor in general, and anything else that's going on in life. Specifically my trip to Japan next week. As always, if you have any questions or anything, something's going wrong, just let me know in the chat and I'll be happy to address those questions. So today, kind of the main goal of this is to go over Meteor scaling, address any question that might come out of it, and kind of show off where I am in writing I would say, pretty sizable article or guide for the official Meteor guide. I'm pulling from a lot of other sources. So, let me please know in the chat if you hear me fine and if everything is working. I'm not doing this often, so things might be a bit off sometimes. And I'll wait a little bit so that the delay kind of gets through. And in the meantime, switching here, this one. Awesome. So hi Kelly, I think you will be able to kind of help me here a little bit as well to make sure that we have everything working fine. So let's get us started. So to put everything nicely together, I have started writing an article called Performance Improvements. Pretty much the idea is to kind of pull together as many resources as possible and have be this like one central hub from which then people can go on to other resources and kind of have just the basics here, because at the end of the day, scaling Meteor app is the same thing as scaling a Node.js app with MongoDB database. So all those things that have been written about Node.js and MongoDB still apply, plus some extra things. So far I have some introduction, pretty much saying, hey, each app is unique, so you need to really make sure that you adjust things to what your application needs, because that's very common. People come to the forums or other places asking, hey, how do I give me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, how do I improve performance in my Meteor application. And these people who have been around for well, that depends. And it's not like like the basic, how should I call them, tutorials, or that we have, for example, on the Meteor University, where you are just learning the basics. Scaling, again, is very much application dependent and based also on other technologies you are using. So if you add more packages to the mix, the more things you will have to take into account. So that's kind of the interactions, together with acknowledging where kind of most of the information I have here come from. So first section kind of is about APM, and that pretty much, if you can get it, get an APM, which is application performance monitor. If you host in Galaxy, you have the Galaxy APM in the professional tier. Or if you're outside, then you can probably get Monte APM, linked to their packages. And you can of course use other APMs that are out there for Node.js and so on, but these two are probably like the best. Or of course you can also roll your own as well. Then I have here primarily inspired a lot from Martin Schuster's Vasco's article about finding some issues in APM. So a lot of, especially like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's kind of been almost entirely copied from that article. So I think it's a very nice breakdown. And I think for that, one more thing that I have kind of discovered relatively recently while researching this is that there is this official, Meteor Cloud Galaxy guide that has also a lot of additional information about all the different things, how you should crack them, and all those guides. And even if we look on some of the, maybe here in the observers, yes, we have the old videos from Arunoda explaining all the different things and how to improve things, like in this case about observers. So let me just add here also the link to that, because I think that's going to be kind of crucial. It's 8 p.m. The section in, this will be the link, Galaxy Guide. So that's kind of the first part to really be care of. And now we are kind of getting, and this is where I'm making the stream, because there's still a lot to write off. I don't think I will finish it tonight either, but at least I'm hoping to present to you where I'm right now at this point, and maybe together we can expand our knowledge. Hopefully you can point me to some more interesting places that I should read on and maybe include in the links, or maybe what am I missing in this general article. So pretty much after telling everybody about APM, I will start talking about publications and all that's related to that. Because as I'm starting to write here, publications kind of are the heart of Meteor. And that's primarily thanks to the live data that they, or lifelike data they provide. So the most important aspect of Meteor. The problem with live data is this is the most resource intensive thing in your Meteor application, because of course you need to hold all the cursors and everything else that goes into that. So I'll start talking about observer reuse, and I'm gonna open here what else should be mentioned kind of in this section, and I will then close the section with talking talking Redis uplog. And I think I have already should be this. This section. Oops, where did I go? Let me put it in correctly, so that will be under. Before I even get to that, because kind of the first thing is, you know, of course you can put Redis uplog and all that stuff. But one of the big things about publication is that you shouldn't be using them everywhere. That's kind of the first big rule, because and I think that should be kind of the first section before we even go into any optimization. So publications, proper use. And then I'll just explain when and where it should be used and when not. The general rule is if you need live data, then it's a good place to use them. If you can have stale data, or you know they don't have to be live, then you should replace them with methods. And since that's what I'll be talking about here next, so it's good to have it in here, maybe as a subtitle as well. And since, as you can probably see from my notes, should probably increase this a little bit. You know, you may also want to go into considering GraphQL or REST to get the data as well. So this will actually ID-wise be replaced like that. So after we have the actual proper use and what you can replace the subscription with, then I will go into the optimization part, which right now I'm starting with low observer reuse. I'm probably going to mention a couple of other things from the Galaxy guide as well, like throughput and all that stuff, and some other things. It's, you know, the goal of this guide is not to pretty much copy everything from there and put it here. Instead, it's supposed to give you some resources to, you know, kind of like the basic overview, and like, hey, here are links, you know, go and learn more about these over here. So publications, and let's call it replacements. So that will be just a note. Finally, at the last part is going to be talking about Redis uplog, which helps a lot with, especially, you know, internally. What is happening there is that in order to be able for Meteor to send out the proper data to everybody when they change, Meteor is following the uplog, hence Redis uplog to all the changes that are happening, which also is not very good performance. You know, it was a clever solution at the time. These days we are looking, you know, in Meteor going forward to utilize the change streams, which have been added, could say, relatively recently, and even like the initial addition when we did the initial investigation, it was determined it is not yet ready for Meteor to fully use it for what we need. but the latest iterations of chain streams are looking very promising. So even if it's not available at this time, it might be in the future. So I'm pretty positive that that will be one of the big changes in Meteor in the future as well. So, and as much as there is, about talking about replacing the publication, that is not necessarily the case for methods, because methods are like, simply put, a REST API calls, and actually methods are one of the possible replacements for publication if you don't want to use GraphQL or REST, because it's just like one call, get the data back, or anything else. But with that also, since methods are used to do some actions on the server, they also need some optimization. So primarily, here I'm talking about heavy actions. So that could be, like super expensive calculations, reoccurring jobs, and all that stuff. So actually, both with reoccurring jobs and heavy actions, what I've seen with companies like Pathable, there is like a specific server just for doing those things. So that's what I'll be recommending here. Allowed to have like a specific like standalone server, or additional microservices or anything else, kind of get it out of the application, especially if you don't need an immediate result. So for example, in the case of Letter Universe, what we have, or let's see if I can figure out some nice example. Usually we are like very very lean on things there, but obviously recurring jobs will be running in its own server, and then we'll have like heavy actions when it comes to calculating or recalculating statistics and stuff like that. Again, that will be its own server somewhere alone, because we don't need data from that immediately. We just need to update the data in the database from everything else, so it can be separated from everything, because the only thing that we just need to do is send the trigger for that action to happen, and then we just need at some later date to have the data in the database. So that's kind of what's happening in there, and I'm pretty sure this section is going to kind of extend and increase in size, especially after this kind of gets published and more people can chime in. By the way, if you have any good resources or articles that I haven't mentioned so far, or you think that I should probably add something to the specific section, please stop me at any time, or write in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to add things in there. This live stream is not like to go into very much details. That's what the articles and the additional resources around here are going to be. So it's just kind of show to go around, and hopefully people can chime in and maybe can add something that I have missed and forgot. So after the methods, I'll be talking about MongoDB, and like with everything else here, it's pretty much the same story. All the things that you know about scaling MongoDB apply here as well. So the first section that I'll be talking about is IP whitelisting. This has been something, well, it's mostly talked about in security, but it actually has also performance impact as well, at least from the people that I've heard. In general, if you run on Galaxy, there's an option to kind of have like IP addresses for the hosting, and if you host in Atlas, then you just go to IP whitelisting, enable that only connections from the specific IPs will be accepted. You put in the Galaxy IPs, and you can run. The main thing is, if you enable access to anyone, then there's going to be a lot of people, or there's like bots and automated systems that are running constantly, trying to get into an insecure MongoDB databases to steal data. And there's a lot of them out there, so they're constantly hitting your database, which then has it on performance, because the database has to run the authentication and all that stuff, which obviously takes big performance hit. And of course, then is the added benefit of security once you have this enabled, so you get rid of all these bots and attackers, and you can then as I said, that's the security benefit. And then of course the performance is that your MongoDB servers don't have to constantly authenticate and all the bots trying to get in there. So that's at least for me, that was like relatively recent find, because I've only kind of heard of this in regards to security. Of course, big topics are going to be indexes, and this is kind of where I would like to see your comments on this section. How deep do you think I should really go in here, because there are a lot of resources from MongoDB on this. Right now I just have this from Paulos Mogolon's talk at Impact, kind of the basic overviews of those. So I'm just going to summarize what he said in his task. And this is so that would be these, make sure that you have compound indexes, because that, I would say, that will be especially something to highlight for Meteor people, because oftentimes we use collection 2 and we just set indexes on the different fields, which is good, but sometimes, or most of the times, you have you usually search for something based on 2 fields. So for that you need compound indexes, so that I think that needs to be very much highlighted in here, so that people have all these indexes properly. Which then, of course, the general strategy, how to make sure that everything is properly indexed, is you go through all your queries and make sure that all the fields that you are searching by have an index, and the fields that you don't search or use for any search don't have index, because then is the problem if you have too many indexes. That also slows down, because MongoDB has to constantly index those fields. So if you're not using it, then you shouldn't be indexing that field. So that's kind of under the needed. Guess I'll just put it here together so it kind of goes together. Okay. So next one, kind of the section will be find strategies. Part of that will be reiteration, that only that all queries should have an index on the fields that they are searching. And the big one here is that the fields that filter the most, or we have a user let's not say user collection. See what would be a nice example. Okay, so let's see. We have a story. So first things first, what will filter the result set, to the smallest one. So with Literal Universe, first we'll do is, if we are searching, let's say, for a sci-fi story in a specific universe, let's take my Struggle for Balance universe. So first, in this case of search, we'll do, first would be the universe ID, which will just limit it to the stories in the given universe. And then we limit that further by only displaying this, or like searching for stories with the genre sci-fi. But for example, then if we are doing like a general search for a sci-fi story, then obviously with a specific age rating, let's say, then here it's kind of hard, but you usually start with just a sci-fi as a genre, and then you add in the then the age rating as the additional limit. And of course that will all depend on how you have your data, and this is also where the compound indexes come in as well. So another new things that I learned relatively recently is to be also aware of collection hooks, because there might be some additional operations there, and so that might also be slowing things down as well. So, and that's again from, I think, from Paulo's talk at Impact. So I'll have to revisit that and do a bit more research as well. And yeah, of course, then caching and aggregations, that will be kind of the last part of the MongoDB. Finally, or not finally, but second last, next section is about scaling, which might say strange, because normally when we talk about scaling, we are talking about performance improvements for your application and all that stuff. But actually, what scaling is about is all about vertical and horizontal scaling. I think for right now, this section is pretty much done. Actually, no, I need to move this to over here. Or no, sorry, no, that was correct. So I'm just giving a quickly introduction. What is a vertical scaling? What's a horizontal scaling? So people are aware of that. And then I'm talking, it was just written like before the stream started, about container autoscaling, and so that you set the triggers when your application should be scaled up or down, and with some examples, of course, linked to the triggers for Galaxy, which go even more in depth how to set it up and operate it. And as always, because people tend to skip to other parts, reminder that you have to really look for specifics of your application and get to know it, how it reacts, with different under different scenarios. So for people doing this and preparing these, if you want to do it properly, it will be, week or two you will be just staring at your APM and the data and trying to figure out what is the proper time to scale the application, or also then downscale it, because you might want to make sure that it all happens at a proper time, and that you don't start immediately scaling, or once you have a quick spike that actually then immediately dies down, and vice versa. And of course the usual, if you have if it's like a corporate application, then you kind of increase the minimum of containers before the start of the working hours or the working day, and then once the working hours finish, you decrease the minimum so that the app can scale down to say like only one container instead of say like 100 during the working hours. And finally, packages section, which will talk a little bit about pretty much make sure you know how the packages that you put into your application work and that they are proper for your use case. This is not just from security perspective, but also from performance base, as we talked about collection hooks, so that you can make sure that what the packages are actually doing, and so that you are not then suddenly surprised that they are doing some heavy computation or something else that is completely blocking your performance improvements. So that's where this comes from, and if anybody, especially on the last point, if you have more knowledge or resources, please put them in the chat so I can expand this even further, because right now kind of what we have here, this is what we are, it's just like one quick paragraph, so it would be nice to expand it a little bit. All right, so that's kind of the structure I have right now. I'm hoping to finish this hopefully sometime today and tomorrow. Again, a couple of paragraphs for each of these sections, and then I'll create a pull request to the Meteor repository, and I'm sure we'll be expanding and adjusting it as everybody brings more of their opinions. But before I do that, so far from everybody here listening, let me know what you think, and especially if you think I'm missing something crucial. That is the big one. That's why I'm doing this stream, trying to figure out, is there something that I'm overlooking, something big. So I'll give a little bit more time to get the option to people to write in. Or if you have like any specific question about performance, scaling, all that stuff, also again, feel free to write your questions in the chat, and I'll try to answer that with the best of my ability. Kind of a rare moment, because this is usually quite expensive service. Okay. And if you don't have any specific question to scaling or performance improvements with Meteor, if you want to kind of go, or if you want to kind of talk about something else Meteor related, feel free to write your questions into the chat, and I'll be happy to address that as well. So check, so far so good. Now, while we are also waiting for that, I'm just going to do a promo. We have a new kind of meeting event which we'll be doing the first Friday of every month. It's community packages monthly planning meeting. So we'll have our first on December 7th. Sorry, no, December 2nd. So in my case, it's 2 to 3 p.m. Central European Time. If you go to the web page, I'm going to paste the link here in the chat. It will show you what time it is on your local time. And the idea is right now, actually, Kelly, if you are still here, please let me know in the chat if you want to be added to this as one of the main speakers. This is going to be open meeting for everybody in Meteor. Me and Jan, so two Jans will be the main hosts, and because we are the maintainers of most of the packages that we'll be talking about, and in there as well. First we'll go over pretty much the organizational issues, then talk about Blaze, simple schema, Meteor desktop, async await migration, and a couple of other issues. If you want to kind of let us know what we should talk about or address in the Meteor community packages space, there is a post on the on the forums, Meteor forums, where you can add your suggestions. And then about midway through December, I will open up another one for the January meeting. So that will be a big new addition to, let's just say, Meteor community events, or say family of things that we are doing. Again, hopefully to be more transparent with what's going on and add some engagement. Okay. Sweet. So that's that, and in the meantime, don't be shy. At least let me know how you're doing this evening before I move on to something, say, general Meteor news, if that might be probably a good way to talk about it. All right. So since I don't see any question popping up, or at least YouTube is not telling me that there are any, I'll move to the next section. You could probably say, and that is looking at how we are doing with the Meteor, with everything. So Meteor 2.8 and 2.8.1 have been released. So that's a big one, kind of the first steps towards the fibers migrations, or migrating away from fibers. I got a couple of pull requests into these as well. The 2.9 release is also going out, I would say, pretty smoothly. Again, some of my PRs there as well. So let us quickly check what still has to be done here. I wouldn't say nothing too crazy. Hopefully we'll get newer version of TypeScript, although I think the title needs to be changed here because this might have been upgraded to newer TypeScript. Or maybe not. And this is a good suggestion. Yes. Okay. So yeah, this will be a small update to TypeScript 4.6.4. Obviously, the latest TypeScript is much more further, so it's still lacking. And if you look here in the PR, we have a discussion how we should do this. So especially over here, if we should go to the latest one or not. Right now, I'm just sticking with what we have right now, and with each Meteor release, I will be putting up, or I will be bumping up TypeScript unless somebody else does it. And yeah, as you can see from the highlights, 2.9 is going to be, again, more fiber migration. That's what we can expect, I think, from the rest of the Meteor 2 series. It's just going to be migrations from fibers or futures as well, so that we can have Meteor 3.0 early next year, which will be able to upgrade to the latest node version. And for me personally, actually, one more thing, and again, that's hopefully something I'll manage this weekend, we'll see, is I will want to do an upgrade to Apollo server version 4, which right now in this Meteor skeleton is version 3, and there have been quite some significant changes, so I'll have to look more into that and do a proper upgrade for that. So that is kind of the big news coming from Meteor, or kind of what we can expect in the coming weeks. And of course, there's a lot of pull requests from Harry Adele about removing underscore. Some of them have been merged, some of them will be still waiting. And right now, my personal kind of next goal, big one, or kind of big obstacle I still have to tackle, is the revised implementation of DDP resumptions. And after that is, for me, Meteor Desktop, to get that up and running. Right now it's running fine, but it's not running on the M1 MacBooks, so I'll have to look more into that. The problem I'm having is that I don't have a Mac, so I will have, right now, the idea is to upgrade to the latest Electron version, which, or at least the one that supports the M1 chip. So, and of course that is not as easy as we would like it to be, and there are some obstacles. So that's it, kind of from like the big news. And again, if you want to, now is a good time for questions about anything Meteor, or about, for me, or anything like that. as we are moving towards the end. Today I don't want to go for too long, but as you might have probably heard, if you follow me at least a little bit, I'm planning to travel to Japan early next week. So that's going to be, I'll be there for about 2.5 months, I think 74 days exactly. Maybe more, maybe a bit less. I will see. And so yeah, I'll be doing a lot of content from there. I plan to, of course, as always, take a lot of pictures, try experiment with doing more videos and all that stuff, and kind of just want to give you like an idea of all the places I kind of plan to, or I'm considering visiting. So, and actually that I forgot to include Naoshima. Okay, let's do this. In this, that's another place I am interested in visiting. And Naoshima is kind of like, you might have probably heard of it. It's like an island that has modern art all over it. But yeah, so this is the scale that I'll definitely be going down here to Kyushu, and of course I'll be ending up in Sapporo for the snow festival. I'll be staying a lot in Sendai most of January. So there is a, you can say I'm pretty much traveling the length of Japan. Maybe even if I'm too cold, I might make a trip to Okinawa, but probably not, but still. Part of it is for personal and business reason, but another part that I'll be trying to go to as much as possible will be different developers meetups and all that stuff. Of course, trying to spread the good word about Meteor, and see if we can get some new developers in Japan for Meteor while I'm there. Okay, so yeah, I'll be posting that, kind of like my diary to Literary Universe blog that I have, which will also appear then on my personal web page. And of course, on this YouTube channel, you will probably see some videos of me traveling across Japan and trying out some different things. All right. And with that said, again, if you have any question, comments that you would like to add, it can be Meteor related, it can be Japan related, anything goes. So I'll have a couple more minutes and then we'll be finishing this up. Of course, it's always a challenge because of the delay between YouTube and what I see, and then when it gets back to you. So, and again, here is once again article that I'm currently working on. I hope to finish in the next few days by latest, about general guides to improving Meteor performance. And again, if you have more resources or like articles interesting about that, please let me know so I can include them in here as well. Okay, so if there are no questions, I will be slowly moving this to close this. Yeah, this PR should hopefully be coming to Meteor in a matter of days, unless I get too distracted to finish this up finally. And yeah, then I'll be off to Japan and doing other things. So back to me here. And looks like I'll have to get a new scene here for the finally finishing things up. Okay, let me. Okay, that's that one. But we are not there yet. So yeah. Okay, another thing, if this PR is accepted, hopefully it will make it into the 2.9 release of Meteor, or it can be also accepted outside of the release process and be released independently. That's also an option. That will depend on how the maintainers who merge things on Meteor are feeling about it, where it should go. And yeah, another big thing also that I just realized what will be needed here to update is then for anything await async specific, especially coming from the old Meteor. That will be something I'll have to look into myself as well. All right. So since there are no questions right now, if you have, still feel free to type them in. Still have 1 or 2 minutes to go. But anyhow, thank you very much for your attention. And if you want to kind of hear more about it or want to support what I'm doing, I'm going to put in here. You can sponsor me on GitHub under Storyteller CZ. The link is also in the description of this, together with affiliate links. That's kind of different discounts and other interesting things that you get. Hopefully something for free, and also it gives me a little bit back as well, so that we can help fund my efforts here in the open source world. And yeah, if you sponsor me, you also get kind of option to tell me what you want to focus on, or what you want me to focus on. And at least once a month we have or like together with all the sponsors, we have a meetup where we talk about all things Meteor or business and anything else that comes to mind or that people are struggling with, or if your donation is high enough, you can also get the one-on-one with me at least once a month or more, if needed and my time permitting. So that all set. Again, once thank you very much for watching, and I will see you hopefully next time from Japan.